Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, the Honorable Roger Lawrence, to address you. The viewing and listening public, please note that Minister Lawrence will be leaving at 10:15 in order to attend another meeting. Minister Lawrence, you have the floor.
Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, Ms. Roach, persons listening to various media platforms, and to the member of the press, good morning. Last week, Thursday, was my first official day in office as the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication. And it is with great enthusiasm, and I must say that with discussions with my colleague ministers and support staff on the various listed portfolios, I feel highly optimistic. I feel very optimistic of what is to come. With leadership comes great responsibility and accountability, and I'm a firm believer that together we can achieve more. With communication and dialogue with stakeholders, we can create a better future for us all. Even during my first week in office, I have a particular story to tell. I recently met with a couple from the tri-state area in the US, and they was telling me about their love for St. Martin. And as per normal, I would ask, why St. Martin? And they put it very simple. When I'm here, I feel different. I feel liberated. This message, we need to capture the essence of that message. There's no reason why we cannot become a giant again amongst the greatest of them all. This gives me hope for the future. My commitment within the first 100 days is to position ourselves for greatness, taking the key components within the governing program, discussions with my colleague ministers and key stakeholders to propel this destination forward. There's nothing stopping us. With that being said, I have a few acknowledgements. I would like to congratulate the airport for signing off the construction project. That's a major milestone. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Alexander Gums for taking up the position of Chief Executive Officer at Port St. Martin. From a public notice standpoint, the legal advisor position is open and available. I encourage people to apply. Come join the team. With that being said, in closing, I want to celebrate a special moment. For the first time in 36 years, Dutch Side Taxi Association has elected a woman, Maya Friday. Congratulations, Maya. Good stuff. Thank you. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Minister Lawrence, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, to address you. Also, please note, Minister Richardson will be leaving after her opening statements as she also has another appointment to attend. Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, and the viewing and listening public. On Monday, August 30th, I hosted the Justice Sector Essay Contest ceremony for 6 secondary school students at the Government Administration Building. These students won a chance to spend a day with their chosen department head and receive certificates of appreciation. I wish to take this moment to once again publicly congratulate the students, schools, teachers, and their parents for this great achievement and encourage them to continue to have an interest in justice, as we need more locals taking up positions within the various sectors of justice or the justice chain in St. Martin, within the kingdom, and of course, abroad. Immigration matters. The Immigration Department would once again ask the general public and those who have applied for permission to be on St. Martin to please contact the department so that you can pick up your permits. I'd like to touch a little bit on what has been transpiring the last few days with our youth. And I'm going to start off by reading an article that was sent to me. The author is not shared, but I just want to be able to touch on it. Inclusive and participatory. Last week, reported that Justice Minister Anna Richardson had issued a decree to designate Dutch Cul-de-Sac, St. Peter's, Ebenezer, and South Reward districts as zones for stricter law enforcement in connection with nuisance and criminal behavior by truant students and loitering juveniles raised a few eyebrows. That's the part that got me, the fact that it raised eyebrows. Some were concerned about the prospect of having police monitor compliance with the compulsory education ordinance by children, but many, including parents and teachers, seem to agree that this is necessary. Some were concerned about it because they felt that it was intrusive, it appears. A significant number of local schools are concentrated in the general area, creating a lot of movement by youngsters in the street. Even though most students wear uniforms, this makes it difficult to control their whereabouts. To be sure, delinquency around schools is nothing new and certainly not limited to St. Martin. However, government has an obligation to ensure a safe learning environment as best it can. Of course, repression alone won't do the trick. Experience has taught us, That's why the minister's initiative to hold the country's first national juvenile delinquency symposium on September 6th through the 8th is quite welcome. Stakeholders will discuss establishing a comprehensive system that supports at-risk youth and their families. After all, social circumstances are often at the root of the problem. More should also be done to keep young people busy with worthwhile things such as sports and other positive forms of recreation. Despite the best efforts of those directly involved, the structural investment is related facilities and programs are still sorely lacking. But of perhaps greater importance is to actively engage in potential troublemakers early rather than treat them as outcasts, even before they become such. The complicated yet crucial issue obviously requires an inclusive and participatory approach. I do not know who the author of that particular article is, but I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for putting an objective viewpoint and sharing that publicly, because far too often we have situations that we're dealing with on the island, and before we can have a community that supports efforts to do or take positive steps, the level and the noise of criticism is loud. This is a serious situation we're dealing with. Our youths are really in a situation where they are either crying out for attention or they are just not receiving the type of support they need. And steps and efforts are being taken to be able to ensure that when we send our children to school for education, we as parents, teachers, school managers, school boards, and the likes can feel comfortable to know that they are in a safe environment. The police force of St. Martin has been experiencing quite a number of criminal acts and behavior within and surrounding schools. And these are done by students. On Friday, August 27th, 3 students were arrested by police at approximately 1 p.m. for pelting cars with raw eggs and for causing damage to private property. On the same day, 2 students were arrested for participating in a fight that took place on Thursday, August 26th. One of the minors is seen on video supplying the other with a brass knuckle. This very deadly weapon was used to cause injury to another student who was then taken to the hospital. He was treated for his wounds and then released to his family. At least one of the perpetrators, that one who inflicted this bodily harm on the victim, is currently detained at the MLC. And a third suspect was arrested yesterday, Tuesday, August 31st, and the investigation in this matter continues. That wasn't enough for us for a brand new school year. Yesterday, a student was found with a pellet gun and a quantity of marijuana in his backpack, along with his notebook and lunch. The confiscated items were found during a random search of the student's school by school authorities. After the find, the police were called in and the student was arrested. He remains detained for further investigation. That wasn't enough. This morning, another student is arrested for entering the school grounds with narcotics. I am asking St. Martin as a whole, to recognize the serious situation we have with our youth. I am asking parents, please, you must know what your children are involved in. I remember when I was growing up, my mother didn't allow us to come home with a pencil she didn't buy. A pencil, where did you get this pencil? A friend gave it, take it back. We must do better from home, and we must do better as a community. The easiest thing to do is criticize everything this government does. The easiest thing to do is to criticize everything this Minister of Justice does. But I have made a commitment, and I will continue to take steps and measures that is deemed warranted and necessary to protect our children, our communities, and this country we all call our beloved St. Martin. I remain here. Thank you, Relaika.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Silvera Jacobs, to address you. Viewing and listening public, as well as members of the media, please note, Prime Minister Jacobs will be leaving also within short. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Good morning, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, listening and viewing public. Thank you for joining us this morning. Of course, I'd like to welcome our newest addition to the cabinet, basically having had his first week come tomorrow of sitting in office. I must say the preparation as well as the introduction to this function has been a positive one, and I look forward to the hard work, the continued hard work started within the ministry and with his renewed vision to get things moving, continuing to collaborate and cooperate and be transparent within the Council of Ministers with his colleagues and also, of course, with the organization and other stakeholders within St. Martin and externally as well. As Prime Minister, I can only support the statements made not only by Minister Lawrence, but also by Minister of Justice Anna Richardson. As a former educator, or I should say an educator for life, everything related to the youth is important, and it is not the purview of any one minister. It is all our responsibilities, and I remember the challenges as former Minister of Education in terms of bringing the community together to see the future of our youth, the present and future, is in our hands. We cannot continue to make those cryptic statements of the youth is our future, the youth are our future, without doing something positive today. So I commend any and all efforts to protect them. I commend the efforts also to involve them within understanding of the ministry, as I did take part in that ceremony on Monday to honor the 6 students who won the opportunity. And as Minister of General Affairs, there are also plans in the offing to continue to support youth in various areas, as well as get their involvement and understanding of government processes. So you will see more such awareness initiatives across government, and I look forward to the youth participation in that. I do believe also, last statement on this topic, that we must also endeavor as media and community to shine the light more on those youth doing well, doing good and positive things for themselves and St. Martin. We do realize that the negative gets a lot more attention, but that is also a source of one of the reasons that they are actually acting out. So catch them being good, highlight that, and we will also see positive reinforcement working to discourage the negative actions that are worldwide and every community faces. The University of Curacao and St. Martin continue to collaborate. This time, the Department of Legal Affairs and Legislation, we had 6 of our workers in that department who were following a legislative course at the University of Curacao here on St. Martin. And we were able to participate in the graduation for 4 of them yesterday evening. And of course, expect the other 2 to also be finalizing within short. This improves government's ability to be able to handle all the necessary responsibilities. We have been quite short-staffed, and always we know that legislative lawyers are hard to come by. So we have now, let's say, certified 4 new ones who are already working, who will now receive, of course, more responsibilities. And I encourage all within the community to look at those opportunities via the University of Curaçao's St. Martin's campus, let's call it that, and as well as all of the online opportunities that are there so that you can gain in your independent growth and, of course, in St. Martin's government ability to move forward. Congratulations on behalf of the government of St. Martin. Again, disaster management presented their presentation. I already issued a press release on that, so won't go into that much. But I think it is important that seeing we're in the hurricane season and noting that over the past week, several states within the United States have had to deal with the negative effects of what started when it hit the coast as a Category 4 hurricane, making landfall there and continuing to move through, causing severe devastation to many towns and parishes, including severe flooding, damage to buildings and key infrastructure, and literally a great amount of people, over 1 million people, are without power, without electricity and water, and are being asked to leave the area. So even if you hadn't evacuated before, to leave now. And then we juxtapose that with where we were 4 years ago with Hurricane Irma. These storms are, and they are predicted to continue to be very, very strong. Their devastation is severe. And so even though thus far we have been very, very blessed, we continue to ask the government, the people of St. Martin, individuals, businesses, families, to continue to be prepared at all times and necessarily to have that 2-week stockpile so that you are able to take care of your families in the direct aftermath while governments and the other entities are assessing damage and trying to assist. Severe flooding with this hurricane has been one of the major problems beside the wind, etc. So please, not only protect for wind, etc., have a plan for possible flooding. We are a very small island, so imagine if a large continental U.S. town, parish, or county can experience what they're experiencing today. We've been there, we know what we can experience. Please be prepared and follow all the directives of our emergency support functions, as well as government information channels for further instructions on what to do before, during, and after a hurricane. The reason I need to leave earlier today is because I'm expected in Parliament today to update on 2 areas, which are the National Recovery Program Bureau for a meeting update on the trust fund projects, as well as EU-funded projects for St. Martin. And that's the reason I'll be leaving. So I'll keep my comments shorter at this moment. And also by 10:15, I would have to leave. So hopefully, if you have not gotten to the open floor section, then you would submit any questions to my staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Omar Otley, to address you. Minister Otley, you have the floor.
Good morning, Rolika. Good morning to the media, my esteemed colleagues, Prime Minister. I'd like to start today with some COVID updates. We are at 285 active cases. We have noticed a slight decrease over the past weeks. I ask the community to continue the good job, and I ask those that are not compliant to let us do better. We are averaging 25 to 30 cases a day. As before, we were averaging 40 to 45. So we are starting to see the light, but let us not be complacent. I would like to Tell everyone and anyone that is interested in being tested, you can do so at the help desk in Hope Estate in Guana Bay. It's no longer at Point Blanche. I would like to tell anyone and everyone that is willing to be vaccinated, you can do so at the Vineyard Building, Monday through Friday, every day, at CPS location. I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you, the choice is yours. If you choose not to be vaccinated, follow protocol. Follow protocol. I would like to give you some statistics as I did last week. According to SMMC, there are 15 deaths in the month. Last week was 12. We had 15 deaths in the month. And 12 of those are unvaccinated. 2 partially and 1 fully vaccinated. We can send everything that we want to send about the vaccination. And I am not going to dispute you, but the facts are there. So I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you, if not to protect yourself, protect the others around you. You may be asymptomatic, but the person that you give it to may not be able to handle the virus. I'll keep it short today. Last week was my first community day. It was amazing. I sat with the members of the community and I got some good advice on how to strengthen, combat substance abuse. I met with actually a representative of the mental health. I met with persons, job seekers, where we were able to sit down and show them how to properly apply through government channels. It was good. One thing that stood out to me is one person said, "Minister, if I didn't have this meeting with you, I don't know what I was going to do." He said, "I lost my job, my family. We were on the verge of being kicked out. And at one point, I was thinking about suicide." You see, when this day came about, there were many naysayers and those who were negative. But I'll take the negativity any day if I can save my people. The community are the ones that put us there. The community are the ones that we go to campaign. So I would meet with them any and every day. On another note, I am so happy today. The DCC QR code is live. I am so happy. St. Martin, this is what we spoke about. So persons can go on the website. I will play a short video to illustrate how to obtain your code, and then I will elaborate a little more. So without further ado, can we play the video?
How to request your digital COVID vaccination certificate. On the request page, click on Vaccination. Complete the form with the required information. If you don't have your VIN number, click on the link to retrieve it. Enter your first and last name followed by your date of birth to display your VIN number. Take note of the number displayed, then click on the link to complete the request form. Select your request type. Enter your email address, followed by the VIN number retrieved in the previous step and your year of birth. Retrieve your profile. Ensure that your full name and vaccination status are listed correctly. Then proceed to upload a copy of your vaccination card. Submit your request, and you will receive a digital COVID vaccination certificate via email.
Thank you. So for those, I will just reiterate again. So the digital COVID certificate is ready. It replaces your current vaccination card. This is a European app. So within every European country, it is recognized. The European countries are now in talks with the Americas, who will hopefully join, and then we can have one source. To sign up, you go to services.stmartingov.org. You scroll to the bottom of the page and click Request St. Martin Digital COVID Certificate. Next, select Vaccination and complete requested information. For a smooth process, you will need your VID number, vaccination card to upload your picture. If in the event you do not have your VID number, you may obtain it by the self-link service link that says, do not know my VID number. So click do not know my VID number. On that request page, you will submit additional information. And once this information is submitted, you will obtain your VID number. If you have any other questions, you can contact 914 and they will assist you. A press release will be issued. Given these same details. And I hope that everyone, the public of St. Martin, will register. And now you can have your QR code, your DCC. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to re-invite the Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Severa Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor once again.
Thank you, Rolika. I neglected to highlight one thing in my opening remarks. Today is Media Partners Day, so I would like to take this opportunity to wish the media a happy Press Day. Thank you. That's it for now. And of course, Minister Otley normally goes before me, and I can reiterate some of his statements, but I must say today is a good day, though we do have some sadness in relation to deaths. Continue to be vigilant, and Minister, congratulations on the launch of what's it called? The DCC code, the QR code that allows us to be able to track better. And of course, I know from our discussions that more will be rolling out. People of St. Martin, it is up to us. Let us stay vigilant.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning, fellow colleagues. Good morning, Rolika. Good morning to the media. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. I'll first like to also start off by congratulating Mr. Alex Gums on his appointment of CEO on the port. I remember when we were in college and he was going to do his internship, and he mentioned to me that one day he will be the CEO of the port. He was going to do his internship at that time at the port. And I remember that discussion clearly, and I also sent him a message reminding him of manifestation of your beliefs, but also through actions, obviously. So again, congrats to Mr. Alex Gums. In regards to SRP, today we start to pay out the SRP for payroll support, and we will also be opening the portal on September 7th for the month of August and September, and the portal closes on September 30th. So again, we started today to pay out the months of July, June, May, and we will open the portal for August and September on September 7th and closes on September 30th. Also, in regards to SRP, we started to continue our audits and controls on companies, and we have seen some companies that were in violation. One of the requirements for SRP were that you have to pay your taxes as a company, and companies that did not pay their taxes and still applied for payroll support will not be paid out in the following months. So we are continuing our controls, and yes, it's unfortunate that we have this program in place. We made it very clear on the conditions, and we still had companies that were in violations. So we will continue to audit these companies. And again, these companies will not be paid payroll support for the following months for the violation of the previous months. In regards to income unemployment support, yes, we do have a backlog there, and we're trying to finalize it this week so we can start to also pay this out. In regards to SRP, we have mentioned it before, it ends in September. It's been only budgeted until September. If you also look at the Netherlands, the Corona Steun, the Corona support and packages also end the 1st of October, and ours ends in September. Speaking of taxes, I see that the meeting of Parliament that we had this week, the real estate topic was especially one that was very popular recently. And I realized that our plan is actually working. It was also to cause a discussion within the community as also part of the tax reform to meet stakeholders, to have discussions, and where the community also discuss with their representatives in Parliament going forward. I was also sent an article today from the Daily Herald where there was a realtor that also made some comments on the real estate tax. And because it was a digital link, I was able to also see the comments under it. And then you also see a disparity of the local residents, the realtor, and the individuals that he represents, where we have the residents that are saying, yes, it's about time that others also pay their fair share. And I remember when I first came back home from college, I specifically asked a certain realtor also, and I was looking to buy a home, on why the housing market is so expensive. And he said, yes, we can sell a house for $250, but if there's a demand outside of St. Martin from Canada and the US, where a person is willing to pay double the price that the locals are willing to pay, we're going to go where the demand is, all right? So why shouldn't they pay their fair share? So I believe that everyone on the island should be paying their fair share, residents and non-residents. And this is one way that we were looking to make sure that they also pay their fair share. In regards to the sustainable tax reforms, that was a report that was presented by the IMF in April 2021. The mission reviewed various tax reforms ideas, including the introduction of a general consumption tax, broadening the current tax base while reducing tax rates, and introduction of financial transaction tax, replacing the current tax system. Finally, the mission recommends enforcing the existing recurrent property tax and introducing taxing of casinos and winnings. Since receiving this report, my staff, my cabinet, we have continued the discussions on the subject regarding the real estate or the property tax. In our discussions with the TWO, the possibility of differentiating between the resident and non-residents as it pertains to taxing properties was highlighted, and it was confirmed that making a distinction and treating the groups differently within the scope of the proposed tax is possible and is actually being done in Bonaire, for example, where there's no tax on immovable properties for residents for their first house, and residents generating an income from a second home, which is already taxed with income tax. So again, the tax on immovable property only applies to non-residents. So think on, for example, persons with vacation homes or business owning immovable property. So to be clear, in the current presentation that we had, there's no intention to tax the property of the people of St. Martin. The intention is to look for means and ways to ensure that the companies who are not registered in St. Martin or registered that generate an income from renting the properties, or short-term or long-term, that they pay their fair share in regards to taxes. I would also like to continue the public to read and follow the presentations in Parliament. We will also be putting the presentations and the reports on the government website so the community could continue to be involved and continue to stay informed. And again, I would like to mention that we all should be paying our fair share of taxes. And with our current tax reform, we are looking to lessen the burden on the ones that have been compliant, but making sure that everyone pays their fair share. When we look at community efforts, when we look at fixing roads, schools, and so forth, all of these come from taxes. And we are looking to make sure that those who have not been contributing start to contribute. And in addition to that, we've also looked at fees that are not being paid. We've started our project that the Minister of Rummy has mentioned before in the press briefing, the Ministry of Finance and VROMI have now looked at AirFPAC and our outstanding AirFPAC fees. We are now have put a small team together to look for the outstanding and so forth. I would like to let those individuals know that it's your obligation to pay your AirFPAC. It's not our obligation to hunt you down. And we are going to start the efforts of calling, emailing, looking, researching, going on Facebook, looking for the individuals. After that process, we will then be notifying via the media on individuals that have a balance. And after this full process is done, we will then be looking to taking back the government land and putting it to good use. That'll be all for today, Roraika.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session, and I would like to invite Bibi Hart Shah of SMN News. You have the floor.
Good morning, Roraika. Good morning, colleagues, ministers. Prime Minister, since you said you're leaving, I'll ask you this question as the shareholder representative of Winair and also the Minister of TIAT, who just took office, but maybe he may have some information also. Over the weekend, Prime Minister, Air Antilles, the partner company with Winair that working various flights on St. Martin, was mise en pied. They were put on the ground, their permits were suspended for certain things based on French regulations. My question today, Prime Minister, in 2019, Winair had a nest year where they made a profit of over 40 million. Winair sold their aircraft and then released those aircraft for double the price. This morning, we're having a court case where workers of Winair took the company to court for a 25% reduction without proper communication with them. Has government, as a shareholder, look into these things that is affecting the company and as to why the company sold its aircraft and then turned around and leased it for double? Has government looked into these things?
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Indeed, government has received, we've had our shareholders meeting with Winair. We've actually approved their financial statements and the like. That discussion did not come up as to actions in the past and selling of aircraft and the like, so that would have to be verified. I cannot say that that is factual information. Owning and leasing, yes, it might seem, I'm not making any excuses, can seem more expensive, but when you own an aircraft, the maintenance, etc., can run you quite high, and maybe you're paying rent as well or in loan for it as well. I do know that indeed there was a working relationship between Winair and the airline that you mentioned out of Guadeloupe. They had decreased that as a result of COVID, with I believe only one. I cannot off the top of my head give the details as to where they are now, but definitely the shareholder has the interest of Winair at heart. And the biggest concern right now was to get the necessary funding for Winair. We've all gone through the challenges with the COVID lockdown and the effects on the airline industry. And so actually securing the necessary loan so that they can stay afloat, as they actually were proactive before government even took measures to be able to keep as many staff as possible, reducing hours, etc., in a mutual agreement. So we will await the results of the case, and Winair is prepared to live up to whatever the verdict is, as they were at an impasse in terms of their negotiations. They are committed to continue to do the best for their employees, as they have been trying to keep everyone as much as they could afford online. If we look around the world, many, many airlines had to lay off a vast majority of their staff, which Winair did not do. They came to agreements with those, and hopefully will be rehiring as the season picks back up with the new season. So we're looking forward to positive news and not backwards to what may have happened. But of course, anything that requires an investigation will be investigated.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Minister Lawrence.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw, for the question. I can only echo similar sentiments as the Prime Minister. I also requested via the Secretary General of the Department to provide me with a full report in particular details for the past 3 years of the inspections of the aircraft, etc. I'm still awaiting that details, but I will follow up on the point as well. Very good question.
Thank you, Minister Lawrence. At this time, I would like to invite Ralph Cantav of Phyllisbird Broadcasting. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to everyone. My question is for the Minister of VSA. Turning Point held a press conference yesterday that detailed an alarming situation on the island where the organization is literally forced to turn down clients in need of care, unfortunately due to legal barriers. What is the ministry's plan to address not just the mental health issues, but also drug addiction and rehabilitation, which is on the increase? And are there plans to provide Turning Point with additional subsidy so that it can provide care beyond the mandated clients?
Thank you, Mr. Cantal. I'm not aware of the interview, the release from Turning Point, but however, last week I was in a meeting with my legal in which we requested the articles of incorporation from the Turning Point, and we're going through to see how Turning Point can be better assisted. As you just heard me mention, we're also looking into combating substance abuse. The problem we are seeing now related to a lot of mental health cases is not only the mental health issue, but it's due to the substance abuse. So we want to combat that as well. So we are working on it. There will be discussions held with Turning Point to move forward in the best interest of the people of St. Martin and the best interest in combating this issue. So we are working on it.
Thank you, Minister Otley. Minister Eden would like to add.
Yes, in addition to what the Minister Vesa just mentioned, when the Prime Minister and myself traveled to the Netherlands a few months ago to deal with the World Bank issues and so forth, we also, at that point in time, requested that Turning Point be included in the monies that the Mental Health Foundation could possibly be getting as a help through the NRPB. They then also mentioned that because this is a new request, they have to look at it and so forth and see how it fits in the picture and if it fits the World Bank guidelines and so forth. I believe, what's the word they used again, PM? The World Bank guidelines. But yes, the World Bank safeguards. They have to see how the Turning Point situation fits within the World Bank safeguards. And so we have been fighting to get Turning Point and substance abuse as part of the overall package from the World Bank. So that's one. And also in addition to that, Turning Point in the past did receive some sort of funding from government in the past. I've also met with the interim director, I believe about 2 weeks ago. And I know she also had to meet with the Minister of VSA, where we will be looking to see how we can continue to assist them or put them back on the budget again for support. We obviously see within our community that substance abuse is an issue, and we will be working on this as a council of ministers to see how we can have this tackled. But yes, Turning Point, substance abuse is important to us as a council of ministers. We have had the discussions with the World Bank on having support, a dual agreement with mental health and Turning Point, and we are looking to see how we could put them back on our budget for assistance.
Thank you, Minister Edion. I would like to inform members of the media we will only be having one round of questions today. At this time, I would like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning. Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. We'll be leaving shortly. Minister Otley, recently you have been accused. Now, 11 o'clock is still slated for all businesses to close. The question is, Minister, is there any preferential treatment for house party after 11, and why there are house parties?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Recently, I've been accused. I answered that. I shut it down, and that's where I'll leave that. Now, the next part about house parties and so forth, we are in meetings with the Justice Department because we realize that that now is being used as a loophole. As in the Netherlands, it's clearly stated in their regulations against house parties, etc. So the Justice has a no mass gathering in their regulations that is separate from TIAT and the VSA. So they can enforce the no mass gatherings at any time and at any institution, party, or wherever it may be, once they are aware. So there's no exceptions.
Thank you, Minister.
There's no exceptions.
But
There's no exceptions.
Thank you, Minister Otley. Thank you, Lyndon, for the question. As Mr. Steven Cerulean does not have a question, I will be posing a question on behalf of Jeffrey Sockern, who is off island. Dr. Sock's question is to the Minister of... It's actually for the Minister of TIAT, but unfortunately he left, as well as the Prime Minister. So I'll pose a question that I have for the Minister of VSA. Minister Otley, it has come to our attention from extremely reliable sources that one of the big COVID clusters on Dutch St. Martin is the SMMC itself. By clusters, he means former patients, staff, their family members who have contracted COVID-19 at SMMC or from a close contact who has been at SMMC. Is this in fact true? What are we doing to protect our medical team so they can protect the public? What is the vaccination rate at SMMC? And by this, he means what is the total staff complement and how many are fully vaccinated? Dr. Sock would also like to know, when can we see the hospitalization data broken down by age, vaccination status, underlying conditions, etc.?
Thank you. I'll try to answer that 10 questions in one. One, the vaccination rate of the hospital is over like 50 to 53%. Last I was informed. I cannot confirm that any patients received contract COVID virus from the nurse, as they were visitors and those type of stuff. What I can confirm is that the government is issuing a policy this week, latest next week, will be published that will allow frequent testing of employees. So that will add as a precautionary measure. SMMC, like everyone else, we're following the protocols. If you have symptoms, stay home. If you are experiencing any illnesses, stay home. And of course, we are faced with the silent killer, which is asymptomatic persons. So therefore, we believe, according to the WHO regulations, the EU regulations, and CDC regulations, that testing, whether PCR antigen, can be recognized as a screening method. Hence the reason, especially since we're not mandating the vaccine, we need to have some hold on this COVID-19 spread. And the best way of doing this is, 1, fully vaccinated. 2, we allow you to be tested to ensure the safety of yourself and the vulnerable groups that enter the hospital.
Thank you, Minister Otley. Members of the media, viewing and listening public, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions to the various ministers can be sent to the minister's cabinet in writing. Honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.